right, you guys. So welcome to the Science of Sales Masterclass. Is my family feeling better? No, they are not. My little 1-year-old is puking for the first time and doesn't know what it is. So this is good for all of us because we're going to jump in and jump out. I might have space for a few questions at the end, but this is not the time to tell me about your childhood. It'll be strictly related to sales funnel work. So I spent about $30,000 learning how to do this particular sales funnel, which is very adaptable. And once you know the rudiments, you can play jazz. But anybody that a lot of people think that launching is just playing jazz. Like, let me get out there and just do whatever I'm inspired to do. And from myself personally doing it like this for a while and collecting a lot of feedback from people at the end of the launches to be like, hey, why didn't you buy this? Which we'll talk about at the end. Most of the time they said that they just weren't clear what it was that I was actually selling. I hate getting this particular feedback because it means that the whole launch has to be reworked. If someone says, oh, it's too expensive, totally fine. If somebody says, oh, it wasn't the right time, totally fine. But when they're like, I have no idea what the fuck you do, that means there's an issue with your marketing. And that's the issue that we are here to solve here. So this is how to do a sales funnel for an online business. And we will get into this right away. Anybody that's joining on Substack, this is my first time going live on Substack. I have no I've never done this before. So if you would like to join, we're going to be working off of a specific slide that will be useful for you to be able to reference. If you would like to join our Zoom, just go to my Substack. It's the most recent post that I just put up here. So first things first, what goes on a sales funnel? The sales funnel is for passive income. Now, a myth that I've personally spent the last, 3 years uncovering as somebody that put a lot of focus on evergreen, as well as I have several books, which are truly it's as passive as you can get. There's no you in it. There's no such thing as fully passive income. There's no such thing as evergreen. And something that I wish someone had told me earlier is that even though we can take this sales funnel and make it what I felt was perfect, last year I had everything on a sales funnel, everything technically reusable. But to have it totally passive would mean putting out the same social media content to my audience year over year. It would also look like sending the same newsletters to my audience year over year. And for a while, in the name of passive income, I was really happy to do that. But it was only once I actually started doing it that I realized that this could be very detrimental to the health of my audience. So in 2026, now here's something that makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me in the sense where, like, when people said having 2 kids is easier than 1, it makes no intellectual sense until you actually just get into it. I had no idea that doing launches fresh would actually be so much more exciting and invigorating for me than any amount of trying to refresh old work and make it feel new again. Switching this over to just accepting that, like, if I want to make money, I'm going to be launching. And if I cannot speak about a product anymore, either the erotic is dead and I need to do something about that, or it's time for me to let this particular product go. I've resurrected, AKA resurrected the erotic, fallen in love with old work over again. But I stopped a book launch this year because I'm like, I straight up can't talk about this book anymore. I'm never going to sell it again. And in the space that releasing that product, in this space that it opened up, I was able to create another one that I actually was excited about, which is this one here right now. So there's no passive income, but there is scalable income. You doing massages on people is not scalable income because you can only massage one person at a time. And depending on how you've structured your business or how you've developed your method, until you really focus on scaling your massages with a method, nobody can do them except for you. So scalable income means that it doesn't matter if there's 10 of you on this call right now or 100,000 of you on this call right now. My workload is going to be the same. It's translating. It means that whether 10 people sign up for this workshop or 100,000 people sign up for this workshop, my workload is the same. So, no such thing as passive income. I have to show up live and I have to sell it, but it can scale. Many people can join. Now, if you have a product that is currently set up as active income only, for example, a massage or your tattoo on this person, it is not scalable. You can make a sales funnel for it, but you got to look your business in the eye. Can you even handle more volume? Somebody had asked me just recently, like, how do I set up a sales funnel? And it was actually for massage. Handmade products of any kind, physical products, anything that's handmade. A physical product like t-shirts, if you have drop shipping, the sky's the limit. You wouldn't have to hold inventory. And we're not going to go into how to scale every particular kind of business for today's call. But can you actually handle volume? And a lot of people just have never looked their finances in the eye. They're like, I'm going to be a life coach and I'm going to take 8 clients a day. Bro, you've obviously never even taken 1 client a day if you're thinking that that's how it's going to be. So figuring out your boundaries, becoming somebody that can handle more. You do not want to like run a bunch of ads and send a bunch of people to a sales funnel when you actually can't handle the volume. For people that are experienced in business, they understand that they're only getting as much as they can handle. They're not looking to go viral. They're not looking for somebody to recognize their genius and save them. They're just like, I'm getting what I can handle, so how can I handle more? So passive income, you can definitely make a sales funnel for one-on-one. You could definitely take what you're going to learn here and create a lead magnet for getting more people into your sphere. But if you are exchanging one-on-one time, you will probably get a lot more from going to my YouTube, watching the 0 to 40K business strategy, and accepting that your work right now is just getting as much experience one-on-one as you can so that you can isolate out your method and then create a product that's scalable around that, for which you will build a sales funnel. For anybody that has experience in passive income, they're going to take this workshop and they're going to go and apply this method to all of the different things that they have for sale. There's going to be a lot of implementation. So just one more thing before I go to the actual sales funnel part. Marketing is a requirement. You can't hire anybody else to do your marketing for you. It's very stupid to put somebody in between you and your customer, especially if that's a robot. All of us know things, but understanding it is different. So for example, if you know that what people crave in an era of AI slop is authenticity, and you know this and you've heard this, people want authentic content, people want realness, yet your behavior is having AI write your posts, AI write your sales page. You obviously don't understand what it actually means that culture is craving authenticity. You know it, but you're not applying it. And this is the difference between knowledge and understanding. AI can barf knowledge on you all day long, but it doesn't make you feel anything. Understanding is somebody being able to cut out a lot of the bullshit and save you a lot of time by saying, yeah, you're never actually going to be able to quiet your mind in meditation. All you can do is learn how to not be identified and believing every thought is true. Here's some practices for doing that. This is always going to be popular. People are always going to be looking for this. So marketing is not about being the loudest person in the room. It's actually about making other people feel seen and heard. But a good rule of thumb, if you don't have any passive income products yet, your core offer is going to be the first thing that you build. This is actually something that we cover in the workshop. It's a specific formula. That's going to be the best selling one. But in general, with whatever it is that you're selling, if you're wondering why it's not moving, there's 2 types of products. There's vitamin products and there's painkiller products. And nobody buys a vitamin product. They only buy a painkiller. So if you need to pause for a second after absorbing the explanation of this and really think about oh, fuck me, maybe I've been doing this all wrong. If you're selling a meditation workshop And you're like, meditation is really good for you. Meditation is good for regulating your nervous system. Meditation makes you slower to react, and all of these things that are vitamin oriented. It's like telling people vitamins are good for you, smoothies are good for you. And when you tell somebody this is good for you, everybody says, I know. Nobody buys a vitamin. Everybody knows that they should be taking vitamins, but it's not a priority for them. Now, if you're selling a painkiller and you're communicating to somebody, check this out. You're lashing out on the people that you want to have the best relationships with. The people that you work with get the best version of you. Your children and your family get the worst version of you. Your lack of sleep is costing you money. Your ability to step out of your inability to step out of reactivity is causing you to deploy your business funds in very stupid ways, hiring the wrong people and ultimately keeping you stuck. You are sitting around praying that somebody's going to come and save you when actually you're shooting yourself in the foot over and over and over again and confusing this with business. Your inability to become calm in the face of chaos is costing you money. Therefore, I will teach you meditation for entrepreneurs because your comfort in chaos is preventing you from scaling your business. That's a painkiller. What's the vitamin selling? Meditation. What's the painkiller selling? Meditation, but in different ways. So if you are selling vitamins, it's no wonder that things aren't selling. So let's take a look at what a sales funnel is. This is the $30,000 information that I got. I had learned, I'd learned a lot of different launching methods before, but this is something that I learned from a coach named Scott Oldford, and then I modified it with everything that I know about magics, the Enneagram specifically, being able to work in a way. Whoops, sorry. Let me try this again. There we go. It's always a little strange for me when I'm on full screen because it gives me options that I'm not familiar with. Then I ran this through a whole lot of experience, cut out anything that was unnecessary. But the advantage of just having like a checklist to work through, and you're like, I hit these points, and when I'm done, is like not to be underestimated. It's so valuable because a lot of people just go out there and play jazz and play jazz and play jazz and then wonder like why it's not converting. It takes more energy to do a shitty launch than it does to do an objectively perfect launch. And there's so many ways that you can adjust this. I've demonstrated some, and I'll give you some options at the end of this call. But the ability to know when you're done so that you can move on to something else, so that you can do it better next time. When you don't know when you're done, you're never done. And anybody that's ever done any type of entrepreneurship can tell you, like, this is real. When the work is never done, you can never go on vacation. You can never put your phone down. It just makes it so that you're working all the time. And it's amazing how many people don't know how to actually just close a launch down. They're like, yeah, I've been selling this one-on-one thing for the last 6 months and nobody's buying it. I keep showing up and like swinging to nobody. It's like, no, time to close this down and do something different. So a sales funnel is not, a lot of people also think that like ClickFunnels, the platform, is a sales funnel. A sales funnel is a collection of very valuable educational pieces of content that are linked together by marketing emails that solve a specific problem. You could also, if you didn't want to do marketing emails, I actually recommend it. Newsletters are still consistently the best way to contact your customer because of the mindset that they're in when they're in their email. Like everybody's got their fucking briefcase when they're in their email. They're like, this is me doing something important. If you were, grunting on your phone and someone says, what are you doing? If you're like, oh, well, I'm checking my email, it means you're in business. If you're like, oh, I'm scrolling on Instagram, it could be anything. there's other ways to contact your customer, but your newsletter list goes with you. A lot of you guys know this. It's just the biggest hindrance with newsletters is the open rate. I have included you can actually see it on my YouTube as well, how to boost your open rate on newsletters. Spoiler alert, it's keeping that list clean, not having an ego about 30,000 newsletters sent when actually only 20% of people are opening it. But having this specific marketing email formula is a way to create very grabby, very exciting emails that demonstrate your expertise. So we link together two lead magnets with high quality problem solving, nurturing emails that go in between each one. And a lot of times you're going to be so inspired by what you've written in these emails that you'll have a lot of social media ideas, not to mention what comes up in the customer avatar, which is in the workshop. Now, this particular sales funnel, this two lead magnet one, it could be an ebook, it could be a YouTube video, it could be whatever, but this is really well suited for mid to high ticket. If it's something that's very small, I'm just going to stop my share on this for a while. If it's something that's small, like a book, I've experimented with doing a very big sales funnel for a low ticket item. Science of Sales, this workshop is a low ticket item. It's not really necessary. You don't want to overload people with information, but for anything over $200, I would probably put a full sales funnel in. I'll examine the data after this low ticket one. Maybe I'll put in a smaller lead magnet next time. And this is really the key when it comes to launching, is like there's always a next time, and just getting over whatever resistance you have to working. There's no other career where people expect to like not have to work, but weirdly spiritual people get this idea that like because there's an unseen world and because there's such a thing as magic that they will just float for the rest of their life. That doesn't work. That's not attractive. That's not what you came to earth for. So wrap your head around the idea of going to work, because that's where you're going to be going for the rest of your fucking life. So, but just because it's work doesn't mean it's hell. Just because it's work doesn't mean that you won't enjoy it. And I've actually enjoyed launching so much more since accepting that I'm going to be writing fresh content all the time. Now, why have a sales funnel if you're going to be writing fresh content all the time? Well, it's very easy to just follow the checklist, but also when you make high quality lead magnets, you can reuse them over and over. So a lead magnet is the incentive to get somebody off of social media, where it's basically just competing for people's attention, into a room where the focus is on you. So a room where the focus is on me is my newsletter list, is me on all of the different platforms, is Substack, is YouTube, is places where you're really giving people a lot of your direct focus and energy. It's not a post here, it's not a post there, but the advantage to getting people on your newsletter list is that you don't have to pay anybody to market to them directly. You have their attention, and you don't have to, kind of argue with an algorithm. You can just make really good headlines and send it to people directly. And this is a big advantage. Now, until you have a lead magnet for any product, whether it's your one-on-one or your passive income, there's no incentive for people to go to your newsletter list. So a lot of times people are like, oh, how do I grow a list? You grow a list with like a really good lead magnet. And this first lead magnet, we go more into it in the course of like exactly what should be in a lead magnet. But for the most part, it should identify the pain that the customer is in. And they are in pain. You can't sell them a vitamin. You have to sell them a painkiller. So doing good work around your customer avatar, I've got great resources for this, helps you to understand the problem that you're actually solving for people. But if you're not solving a problem for anybody, then you don't actually have a product, and you need to get clear about what it is, what problems you're solving for people, because no one has ever made money without solving problems for others. And even advertising is solving a problem. So, and our business is 100% organic growth. We spent a couple years doing ads, but I think total over the course of like 6 years, we maybe did 35 to 40K, which is not a lot as far as ad spend goes. We know from our business that people react differently to our content when it feels like they came across it naturally. Honestly, no matter how much I've modified ads and stuff, when I run ads, everyone's like, you have a tattoo on your face. Okay, great. Not really the right people. And I'll add a resource to the workshop about this, but I worked with a really expensive coach, and one of the main things that I wanted to figure out, it was definitely worth it. It's like 120K for a year, but something, or roughly $10,000 an hour. Um, but something that I really wanted to find out. This person could see the back end of so many other people's businesses. So I really wanted to know the numbers between organic and paid. And most people are walking with the same, because it's like, okay, so you have a $1.5 million year, but you spent 750K on ads. Then somebody grows organic and just does 750K, but without that spend. So all roads lead to Rome. When you have a physical product, it's really good to just put the image of that in front of people's faces, especially on something like Instagram. Let's say that you're selling t-shirts, where people just need to see it over and over again to be like, yes, I want it. But for anything that requires even an ounce of trust, and no matter how cheap it is, I've really learned this with books. No matter how cheap it is, people need to trust you in order to buy it. So a sales funnel helps to build trust, because you're giving people the exact information they need from you to be able to trust you enough to buy from you. And this is essential. The book, The Speed of Trust, I've been talking a lot about recently, but I've read that a few times. Well, I've read it over the course of years, and I've returned it and cracked it open, but I don't actually think I've ever read a book 2 times. Why? A lot of books out there, right? So your first lead magnet, and this is key, is about 20 minutes long, and it's something, it should solve real problems. So not just like social media, like, hey, this is what's going on, but actually saying, here's some action steps that you can do right now. So for the ritual, and this should solve the problem of like, what does my customer need to know in order to be a customer? So for my workshop on money blocks ritual, the first lead magnet is a 20-minute YouTube video that is the 8 most common money blocks that everybody gets. And it's informing people that they have money blocks, which might not be a term they've ever heard before, as well as like specific action steps that they could do to remove these 8 most common barriers to money. And it's and in that, I'm inviting them, in that first lead magnet, I'm inviting them to come to the second lead magnet, which is saying, hey, I showed you the blocks to money, but now I'm going to show you the blocks to wealth. And I'm going to educate you on how wealth is spiritual. And this is the Sacred Success Masterclass. So in between this first thing that gets them in the door, and I'm getting them onto my newsletter list. If you want this, I would like you to please go to the link in my bio and sign up for this. When they sign up for this lead magnet, this 8 most common money blocks, they get an invitation to the Sacred Success Masterclass. There's always some incentive for them to go off of YouTube or off of Instagram and into my email list. So even though my first lead magnet is posted on YouTube, and next year I'll probably use something like ManyChat to send them that video direct to their DMs, in order to get an invitation, I really want them to come onto my newsletter list, because that shit is valuable. That means I can contact you, and I'm not waiting for you to contact me. So in between the first lead magnet and the second lead magnet should always be live, and you'll learn more about that in the video about the 3 pillars of a good offer. But in between the first lead magnet and the second lead magnet, live a series of nurturing emails, and these are the specific prompts that you want to use. Now, this checks out with the Enneagram, but after running people through some Enneagram-based launches, they were a little too unclear about the Enneagram verbiage to actually make good emails. So we're going to use these specific ones, because if all you write about in these emails are these specific ones, you'll be good to go. For anybody that's interested in what we're looking at here on Substack, if you go to my most recent Substack post, you'll see an invitation invitation to this Zoom room and you can check it out, or I'll be sure to post the YouTube replay so you can actually see what we're working off of here. Now, there are 9 email themes. You can compress these. So for example, in this email sequence that you guys got for me, I put this together really quickly because my students at Safe House needed it. This was a very quick wham bam, maybe 2 week, maybe 20-day launch altogether, including the closed cart. Really simple. We only did 1 lead magnet for this one. Testing it out. Like I said, I'll let you guys know once it's closed how it went only having 1 lead magnet. But for everything else that I do, that has really performed well. And we've done like $160,000 launches, $180,000 launches. And that's just in that first month because almost everything we do is on monthly recurring income. So that first big number is also going to be repeated as the payment plans come through over the following months in the form of monthly recurring revenue with our subscription streams. I don't do any one-on-one whatsoever. So this is all the income we have is scalable income. But all of those ones have followed a 2 lead magnet strategy. And always the second, I tanked one launch recently because I didn't make that second lead magnet live. Just you can, if you do the Science of Sales workshop, you'll see the 3 pillars of a good product. That one is definitely, you got to have some type of live aspect. So in between the first lead magnet and the second lead magnet, they need to be getting these specific emails from you. We'll go through them one by one. I had somebody that was showing up for like every single Q&A for a while asking me how long they should email for. Just do the math. So if your first lead magnet dropped on the 1st of January and your webinar is on the 21st of January, stagger these 5 emails between the 1st and the 21st. You can do that with automation. I'm not using automation anymore because I'm a fucking rebel and I like doing that. I'm like regressing out of AI. I don't care if anything I do in 2026 is right or wrong. I only care about it being real. I don't care if it has typos. I don't care if it's inconsistent. What I want it to, I want it to reek of the filthy sweat of humanity and not have one tiny bit of AI. I don't want any slick robot fucking emoji M- bullshit anywhere. I just want it to be real. And that's what I'm focusing on in 2026. Ask me in 2027 how it went. I have a different theme of every year. And usually what I think the theme is going to be versus what it actually ends up becoming is always different. But if you're on my newsletter list, you're familiar with the realness and you know I'm a fucking loose cannon and I'll tell you anything that comes up whenever it comes up. So the first email that you're sending out to people is pain. Pain is not your story of pain. You have to be able to target that customer and be like, you are struggling here. You are lashing out at the people closest to you. Did you know that? The next email they're going to get from you is problem. So what is the problem that this is costing? You have an unstable home base and you think you're going to grow some fancy business on an unstable home base. You're alienating the people that are closest to you. And this sucks. Your reactivity, your lack of boundaries as an entrepreneur is becoming a major problem. I'm like writing I don't have any product about meditation for entrepreneurs, but there is riches in the niches. There is riches in the niches. And there was some lady whose yoga channel popped off in pandemic. Her name was like Yoga with Adrienne or something like that. And she was teaching like the same fucking basic safe to teach online yoga class, but she was altering every single class using SEO for yoga for construction workers, yoga for new moms, yoga for bartenders, yoga for this, yoga for that, like taking that core product and modifying it meditation, but for entrepreneurs, for early entrepreneurs, there's so much value in that. So the consequence is different than the pain they're in and that the problem that pain is causing, because the consequence is like the long-term impact of them not solving this. And you're noticing that we're going really heavy on the painkiller style here because people are not motivated by pleasure. They're motivated to getting out of pain. This is why at churches, they're not telling you how great heaven is. They're telling you how bad hell is. They're not actually worshiping the glory of Jesus. They're if worship is wherever you're focusing on the pain of hell, the grasp of the devil, the downfall of society, people are just, there's basic neurolinguistic programming. People are just motivated more by pain than they are by pleasure. So by going in really, really hard on like, this is relevant to you, you've got issues here, to write these emails, it's impossible to not have them have a good open rate when you're using these themes, because the focus is not on you and your expertise, the focus is on them. And this fits with marketing is making people feel seen and feel heard. Now, after we talk about the consequence, and the consequence of this is that your business is not growing. The consequence of this is that no matter how successful you get out in the world, which is not very successful because you're a reactive fucking person, the consequence of this is that your home life has started to suffer. No matter how successful you get, the real metrics for success, which are you having love in your life and having a seat at the table and being important to the people that are important to you, this is going right out the window. So after we hit them with these first three emails, pain, problem, consequence, the next thing you're going to tell them is your story. Your story is what qualifies you to teach much more than anything else. One of the main sales triggers is authority. We talk about the 9 different sales triggers in this course. Your story is like, what's your experience with this? Your ultimate experience, your ultimate authority, your ultimate credential is how you've struggled with this. Does this require vulnerability? Yeah, all the manifestors in the house are like, no, I don't want to show people my bad side. Well, your bad side is what sells. So let people know, hey, I'm not perfect. I'm not somebody that's just never struggled with this. I did a podcast with this lady who was a fucking driest pussy I've ever talked to in my entire life. And she was like a pleasure coach, and talking about how you should schedule sex every day and how sex is the answer for everything and yada, yada, yada. And this lady fucking not like, I've never felt like every ounce of pussy juice had been sucked out of me in a bad way. And she was like, and so I asked her, I was like, well, have you ever had bad sex? Have you ever had bad sex? Have you ever had sexual trauma? Have you? And she's like, no, I've literally been having good sex from day one. All right, well, you're not qualified to teach people how sex is going to fix all their problems because you've never had the experience of sex actually making things worse. And for anybody that's ever had sexual trauma, forcing yourself to do something when your body is shouting no really feels a lot like abuse. So that's not going to work for everybody. Everyone's got a different, you have something unique to contribute. It's not that I'm right and that she's wrong. She's just very wrong for people that have experienced sexual trauma or abuse, and I'm very right for that audience. So it's not about, there's plenty of room at the top. Everyone has something different to contribute, but we'll not go much more into the topic of sex because I could really talk about it. And when it's my turn to teach about erotic wealth, it'll be my absolute pleasure to teach you all about the power of sex that you didn't know was there. So story is your story, not your life story, not your Brooklyn Beckham stories, just your story of like, what do you, who were you before you knew about a sales funnel? Who were you before you knew about meditation and its ability to reduce the amount of reactivity in your life? That's your story. And something with experience, because a lot of times I didn't know how to start my email sequence writing about other people's pain. I could only write about my pain. For a long time, as I was getting better at this, I would write the pain email and it actually ended up being the story email. I'd have to save it for later. Now I understand that the pain is about their pain and not necessarily yours. I'm a narcissist, so I always want to tell you about my story. But all right, so then the next email they're going to get, and in all of these, I'm inviting people to come to that second masterclass, and a lot of times I'm including And if you guys want to see me demonstrate this, just be on my newsletter list because you'll see me do it. My next launch. I'm going to take a vacation in February unless I get creatively inspired by space and make a new product. But most likely I'm going to take a little break because I've been working. But I'll probably just write a whole book during that time. But you can just be on my newsletter list and you'll see me demonstrating this over and over and over and over and over again. You can also even see on Substack, because I've started backing up a lot of my newsletters to Substack. If you go to my Substack, you'll see the thing where it says like the money series, and you'll see that it follows, the money series 1 of 8. And you'll see that it follows this specific bam, 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 as well as plugs for lead magnets, as well as constantly inviting people to that next one over here. So the next email that you're going to send people is process. And the process is what are you going to be taking them through? Now, for this particular launch, I've been able to put process into just one, that I'm showing you the process here. So I'm not sending out a process email because I'm showing you this here. I know the rudiments, so I can play jazz. You'll also, I don't want to talk about the 2 different neurolinguistic programming for beginners, but I did something new with pain, problem, and consequence and neurolinguistic programming that I'll show you guys about a little bit later. It might just be in the course. It's like a 2-minute video, but everything's a fucking side quest when I could talk on and on about each one of these things. So the process is specifically what people they need to know, that you're not just hoping that they're going to get results. So this is why, like, you can't have your core offer is a piece of active income that you've done over and over again with people, that now you have a method. And because you have a method, other people can expect results even if they're not getting that super immersive attention from you. So for example, let's say you're trying to scale a massage business, which is definitely the hardest business to scale, but not impossible. In order to scale that one-on-one into being able to serve many people in the same amount of time, you have to have some kind of method. So I bring something unique to massage. I have this signature style, and even if it's stupid, even if it's something so small, like anytime you get a massage from me, I put a beautiful bowl with flowers and stuff for you to look at when you're face down on the mat. They did this in one spa that I was in Vietnam, and it was so smart. But there are signature things that I bring in. I use a combination of my own essential oils, hot stones, something visual to look at, and we do binaural beats with headphones on. There's something specific about the treatment that you offer to people. And people are so afraid of quantifying their method because they're afraid that there's not going to be a method. And this is what keeps you locked in one-on-one, where you can't believe that you're actually not throwing shit to the wall and seeing what sticks, that you take people through a formula. So in Science of Sales, we actually use an Enneagram for you to figure out that formula so that there's no missing pieces and you can actually see how smart you are. So then we bring them into the sales. Then we bring them into the second lead magnet, which is right here. This is where you outline the product. You tell people, hey, this is what you can expect. And a good rule of thumb is that, like, the first lead magnet tells them the pain that they're in. And the second lead magnet, you tell them the vision of what their life could look like when this pain is gone. And the gap is what you help them cross. So, like, I'm showing you guys that you have a very inconsistent method for making passive income. That's the pain that you've been in. The vision is that you could be very structured about this, and life could be a lot easier for you, and you could just follow the checklist, and you could know that your launches are optimized for success. You could also know exactly what to put on a sales page, exactly what to put in a lead magnet, why an offer works or why it doesn't work, what your first offer should be, what kind of customer you're speaking to, why advertising doesn't work for one-on-one, and all of these other things. I can show you how to make it very structured so that you're relying on something beyond your own inspiration and energy, which goes up and down and doesn't always translate to sales, but it's going to be work. And I can show you what that work is, and you can pay me to be able to do that work with me. But that's what we're covering in this second webinar here. Now, I gotta look you guys in the eyes when I'm saying this. fuck these weird summits and these, we're going to be live for 3 days for 12 hours a day, or come to my special challenge for 60 days straight. I'm going to be meditating with you. People have zero incentive to pay you after this. And also read, when you get these invites from these fucking people with their hats on saying, oh, we're doing a 3-day summit of female leadership entrepreneurs about embodying the goddess in the business place. Go the fuck away. Do you want to be online for 3 days straight? And also, when you read the fine print, oh my God, I got an invite from somebody that was like a friend of mine. So I assumed it was a big deal. I assumed it was a good deal because they were like a friend of mine. But then they were like, oh, there's posting requirements. We need you to send out 3 emails and post 4 times on social media. I was like, you fucking hoes, I'm not doing that. But I had to because I didn't read the fine print on it. But that's like, hey, would you like to come and be another face in the crowd and then do a bunch of marketing for us for free? That is such a bad idea. And I have a lot of products. You will only hear me advertising my own products. That's what I've chosen to do for myself. Have I ever run ads? No. But when I go on and I teach on, when I do my podcast, I am constantly plugging my own products in everything that I do because I work for me, and that's just how it goes. I'm not saying what other people want me to say. Fuck that. So after we close out this second lead magnet, which should not be longer, 60 to 90 minutes. Sometimes if it's, like Wheels Reinvented, which is childhood oriented, people have the very long shares because nobody's asking you about your childhood, because honestly, nobody cares. It's for you to clean up your own childhood, to figure out the message in all of that mess and help other people with the healed version of it. When it comes to processing childhood trauma, you're going to want to do this quickly. You're going to want to do this privately. You're going to want to do this with Wheels Reinvented. But when I launch Wheels Reinvented, sometimes it goes an extra 30 minutes to 120 minutes total, because people have Q&A and their long questions. But ideally, this second lead magnet would be 60 to 90 minutes. After that, after that, we're officially in the open cart period. So at the end of these calls, like me here with you now, all right, you guys, you can go buy this right now. It's $199. Go to mommyonami.com. You'll see Science of Sales. Here's what you can expect from this course. Now, you're sending them, it's your call to action. It takes 5 minutes. You're solving such big problems for them. Sales are natural. You do not need to get your tits out, dude. Sales are natural. It's written in time that if you do your best, the right people will come. This is called doing your best, but you do not need to slut it up. You do not need to give people $1,000 bonus. You don't need to do a raffle of one-on-one sessions with you. You don't need to slash the price down 50%. Come on. That's so unnecessary. Sales are natural. You're just showing people the door. This is where you can go to pay me. I solve a problem nobody else solves. Am I speaking your language? Yes. Have I been where you want to go? Yes. Am I in your budget? Yes. All right. So just go pay the money. It's really not that big of a deal. So many people are exhausted by marketing because they feel like they have to draft a new personality every time it comes to sell something. You're an adult. You're teaching adults. You're not selling fucking fidget spinners. If you are, use ads. Put it in front of the kids' faces over and over again until they harass their parents into buying it. But everything else, you're an adult talking to adults. You don't have to trick people. Just be straight up with them. It's fine. So the next thing is proof. And proof is when you're doing your case studies and your testimonials. If it is a brand new product, like Science of Sales is a brand new product, just be straight up with people. Always tell them the truth. I've been teaching sales for a long time in a workshop that costs $900. This is my first time just teaching it on its own. I'm here working for your reviews. I'm going to give you guys a month of Q&A. I'll answer as many questions as possible, and I would love to hear from you how this is going from you. Other than that, if I have to pull some case studies from different iterations of this, I can. We'll see if I feel comfortable with that or not when I write this email fresh tomorrow. The next one is objections, and this is really key. You want to be able to, people are going to say, this is not going to work for me, and here's why. You want to be able to anticipate the FAQ of why it wouldn't work and be able to create a solve for that. You don't need to pressure it, and it's okay to not be for everybody. If you want to know, well, I used to say this, but if you want to know how to combat breast cancer holistically, I'm not your girl because I've never done it. But look up the word I can't even say, I don't know how to pronounce this word because I've only ever read it. Autophagy, basically when you go on a really serious fast and the body starts eating the cancerous cells, the word auto and then phagy, Phagy. But that's not my area of expertise. But for everything, it's okay to not be for everybody. If somebody is like, hey, I really want to take this course, but I don't have any passive income, I can show you what your core offer is going to be. But the truth is, a lot of people are just really lazy. I've taught sales funnels to so many people, and then they just feel like it's not fair that they should have to work. To which I say, bro, check on this layer of your privilege, this absolute conviction you have that you shouldn't have to work. Everybody else got to work. Why not you? But just because it's work doesn't mean it has to be miserable. But especially with a new product, I really like to do a Q&A sticker on Instagram and let people know in my newsletter list, hey, I'm going to have a Q&A sticker up on this tomorrow. If you have any objections, I really want your objections. I want to know why you think this would not work for you. And I've enjoyed actually doing this so much that when I'm done with this day, I usually highlight all the answers and then I have my web editor go in and actually put these pictures up as an FAQ section on the sales page. After that, we have the email that is vision. So like, look, this is what life could look like for you. This is exactly what you could expect. And you want to have like a fixed, if there's not a fixed period of time, like this offer is going bye-bye in a week, therefore you should act. And if you want to know it, when we talk about the 3 levels of consciousness in a customer, you'll know if you should do a discount. You'll know if you should have a countdown timer. You'll know all of these because you'll know who it is that you're speaking to. But the vision is like, hey, this is where we're going. And you're either coming with us for this round or you're waiting until the next round. No drama. You're an adult. No pressure. No black magic. No, oh my God, if you do this, you'll never be happy again. There's no need for that. Black magic happens passively. You don't have to specifically try to scare people into buying from you. If you want to know more about black, white, and red magic, you can watch one of my masterclasses on YouTube. But ideally, in this second lead magnet, we've created like a fixed window of time. Hey, after this period of time, my launch is closed. I'm going to be all done. It's going to be time for me to move on to something else. So after vision, we send out the 3 action emails, and this is cart is closing. I usually do 72 hours, 48 hours, and 24 hours. I don't do a 6-hour one. And these are very short emails. They're just reminders. I basically make sure that all of the information people need in these 3 emails are just written in the title alone. 72 hours, 48 hours, 24 hours. There's no need to really overdo it with these ones. You're just showing people to the door. And after that, you have closed a launch with a sales funnel. You can now examine the data. If you're wanting to mess around with Evergreen, you can set this whole funnel to open so that if somebody gets on let's say your lead magnet is a YouTube video, you can use automation to make sure that when they sign up for their ebook, these go out automatically. When I was doing automation, I would just look at how frequently I sent emails when I was writing them fresh and put in a 3-day delay, a 2-day delay, or however long you want it to take. And just change the language as needed. You would put that masterclass in replay. Still, if you were doing automation, you put that masterclass replay in right there. But for me, I have a lot of products, so I just launch things fresh. My evergreen has always been negligible. It's not that I haven't tried it, like I have. So this is how to do a sales funnel. I'm just going to show you guys one more thing, and then I'll take a little bit of questions basically until my daughter is crying. I wanted this to be 45 minutes. We're at 50 minutes. Pretty good. Let me show you guys this. So this workshop, Science of Sales, cheap little workshop, $200. This whole thing is designed to be very quick for you. So when you go, let me close this admin over here. When we look at this actual product, here's exactly what's in it, and you can decide if this is for you or not. You might not need anything after this, but the first category is what to sell, for how much, and to whom. Here we're covering your core offer. Oops, I've got this duplicate here. There we go. We're covering your core offer. We're covering the 3 levels of consciousness in the customer. The pillars of a good offer, do not skip this one. The 3 types of audience and what they need to hear. This is key, especially if most people's sales pages are just way too sloppy. Promotion and prevention. This is like the quickest way to understand neurolinguistic programming. Here's a whole piece about pricing, and then we have a few more bonuses on pricing if you want. Positioning is key. You have to accept that you sit somewhere in the marketplace. You are not nearly as unique as you think you are, but that doesn't mean that your voice is not valuable. People contextualize you a certain way. Me, female Tony Robbins, that's where I'm trying to go. That's how I want people to contextualize me. But you have to be able to absorb not just how you view yourself, but how other people view you as well. This one's cool if you don't know how to do a method. This is a longer one, but this is how to use the Enneagram to figure out your method. Super key if you're doing an online business. And this is, I'll demonstrate an internal, external assessment for you guys. And then we have this next category. And as you can see, these are really short videos. We have a couple, the long ones are not mandatory. If you want to know how to do your method, you can watch this masterclass. But otherwise, we're looking at 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 8 minutes. You don't have to do them in order. You can take a bite of each one. You can be building your launch right now. And then as you're like, ooh, you know what? I need a little bit more here. I need a little bit more there. It's lifetime access. So feel free to just kind of dip in and dip out. But we're adding a month of Q&A and a month of business resources, which you can have, but it starts from now until the 22nd of February. You're only going to be able to ask questions during this time. So then we go into the how to sell it. Here's the Enneagram of launching. This is so good to listen to, just like as a podcast, for really understanding the, like, not there's a magic, but like actual formulaic magic, how this works behind launching. Super cool. Marketing, launching, exactly what to expect. This is us. It's kind of like a sales funnel recap, so you might not watch this one. Exactly what should go in your lead magnet. Let's get a little bit more granular so that you know exactly what you're writing. What goes on an opt-in page? And you know what? I need to add, let me actually clone this here so that I remember. I need to write this so that I don't forget. Enneagram for lead magnet. I'll make sure to add this later. Cool. And if I ever add something new to this, I'll let you guys know. What goes on an opt-in page? This one's key. If you don't know the difference between an opt-in and a sales page, you'll learn it here. Sales funnel recap, if you don't want to watch this whole thing and just get like a 5-minute video. Here's all 9 sales triggers. I use them all every time. How long to sell for, why open and close the cart, and then just an essential piece of how to explore the data. And then we have this is our FAQ down here. There's a lot of questions just written out. Almost everything has been answered for you. And then we have let me see, it's not scrolling down here, but we do have a business resources section down here, resources and bonuses. As you can see, there's a lot. You get all of this when you sign up for Science of Sales. This is a lifetime access course. So you pay $199. It's included in Safe House, but Safe House enrollment is closed until May 1st. You decide how long you want to wait to make money. I'm going to take some questions now, but I'm going to have you guys write your questions in the chat because you're a little bit quicker when you do that. Mami Onami, this is my first experience launching with an educated formula on the formula of sales. What's the best way to get past the ripping of the Band-Aid of having low confidence? Let's really use this analogy. What is the best way to rip a Band-Aid? So I say, okay, here's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to lick your fingers. You're gonna go around the Band-Aid, and then you're gonna take 3 deep breaths. Just rip the fucking Band-Aid. Just rip the fucking Band-Aid. There's no right way to rip the Band-Aid. Just rip the fucking Band-Aid. But if you have some Band-Aid issues specifically around social media, Fuckless used to be a course that was about authenticity in social media and sales funnels. It was just too much. I really needed for my Safe House students for them to just be able, this is made for my existing students. It just so happens to be good for everybody else. But they needed this now. I was like, I'm going to bang this out for you so quick. I'm going to make sure you're not waiting on me to make money. Let's fucking go. But Authenticity, the social media part of it, authentic social media, we're doing as a 40-day practice. It starts May 1st. And I will just sit there. I am very good at ripping band-aids. As a matter of fact, I know that when I put band-aids on my kids, to put a little shea butter on the band-aid so that it actually doesn't even stick when it's time for it to go off. But I'm gonna be standing behind you like a stone wall, pushing your ass right out the door. And if you don't do your homework and you don't get yourself out the door and into the marketplace, then that you're gonna be in trouble with me. And you should ask my husband what it's like being in trouble with me, because the first thing I'm gonna do is remove eye contact from the relationship until you're craving it so bad that when I look at you and say, you better wake the fuck up with my crazy eyes, you don't forget it. So can you recap how to get people signed up for emails? A lead magnet is how you get people onto your newsletter list. If your lead magnet is a painkiller and not a vitamin, people are going to want it. And they're, of course, going to go and get on your newsletter list. You say, hey, would you like to know the 8 most common money blocks everyone gets? Get on my newsletter list. Would you like to know the complete guide to sexual magic? And I don't give a fuck how long it takes. When I first did sales funnels, it took me a while. I had nice tight deadlines, but I use ebook funnels because that's what I personally like. I have some other, and every time I do it, I add something new. I'll add the audio book. I'll add a visual audio book. Every time I go around, I do it better. But investing the time to make one really high quality lead magnet makes sure that it's reusable, that I can do it over and over. How does making art translate? What's a painkiller with art tutorial? I'm going to have you clarify the question, please. Please summarize the difference between process and proof. So process is the method that we use. So if you want to do Science of Sales, here's the exact process I'm taking you through. This is how we do a sales funnel, and everything that the customer might be touching, from the product to the sales page to the messaging, I will cover for you. And if there's anything that I have missed, you have 4 weeks of Q&A where you can drop your question in the chat. Please remember that a question is a sentence that ends with the question mark. So if you need to get some feelings out, you can go to feeling room, but this is not, am I worthy of making money? Yes, you're worthy. Get over it. Now build your systems. Stop looking for somebody to save you. I can answer a lot of questions when they're succinct, but if you have a very long, I don't need a lot of backstory. I've been doing this for 12 years. If it's long, I'm not even going to be able to read it live. So process is the process you're taking people through. Proof, case studies, testimonials. If you don't have any of them, just be honest with people. I'm working for your testimonials this round. How do I know if the lead magnet I'm working on is best for 1 or 2? We talk about this in the lead magnet part of Science of Sales, but in a nutshell, the first one should identify the pain, and the second one should be the vision and the gap. Thank you very much. What if you don't have an audience yet? Then start the audience right now. And since you're in ritual, like, this is no more praying about this. You're on the black line of magic. You're either fucking doing this or you're not. Go get those domain names. Go get those username handles. Or you can say, I'm not going to do anything until fuckless, where we're going to rip the band-aid. But actually, no, because you have to be on social media to do fuckless. So decide if you're somebody that's going to do things or someone that's going to talk about doing things. You have so much experience. You have so much for sale. Now get out there and start building the audience. How do you get people into your audience? Create a lead magnet. For you as well, even though you have more experience financially, 0 to 40K business strategy, watch it. You are at the rip the band-aid stage. Fucking rip it. Just rip it. There's no right way to do it. Are there other ways to do a second lead other than live? What I would recommend for you is the 3 pillars of a good offer. Definitely watch that video on the Science of Sales, because you can fuck around and find out. But I have learned the hard way about not including intimacy in my offers, and I'll never do it again. Let's do one more question, and then I'm going to get if you did every step of the process, had awareness at every move, lead magnet, emails, in-person event, launch with a closed cart, and nothing shifted financially, what happened? Your offer was not relevant to your customer. your offer was not relevant to your customer. So I had a launch that did that. It was one on eating disorders. And the reason why it didn't work is because that was not, I didn't have a big audience of people that, it was very important to me to teach about eating disorders. But in hindsight, it wasn't right because the workshop was called Weightless. Now, shouldn't have said anything about it. It should have just been about addictions in general. But I really wanted to help. Like I felt like I had learned so much about eating disorders that I really wanted to help. But the reason why this wasn't relevant to the customer that I should have known from my experience with eating disorders is that you can't make somebody ready to put their eating disorder down because they're just going to be like, you're trying to make me fat like you. You can't rip that out of somebody's hands. If you try and rip alcohol out of someone's hands before they're ready to quit, they're just going to find new ways to sneak it in. So that was not something that I could have people be ready for and be like, everybody, guess what? Like imagine, what are you addicted to? Imagine you're addicted. Guess what, everybody? In 2 weeks, I'm taking your alcohol away from you forever. You'll be like, I'm not ready to do that. So it wasn't relevant. There's also like what you think there's like your comfort zone of what you want to teach versus what destiny is calling you to teach. And sometimes it's really irritating. Like erotic wealth is something that I have done differently every year since 2022. And I'm going to be doing it differently again this year as a 40-day practice. And believe me, I would love to put this workshop down, but it's destiny shit. And I'm going to when it's destiny shit, it's destiny. I got to do it. No one else is doing it. Anytime I try and put it down, I meet the type of people that made me want to do this in the beginning. People that are losing every important thing to them because they don't understand that falling out of love is a law of nature. So they're burning down their business and trying to run off with a new one. They're burning down their marriage and trying to run off with a new one. They're burning down their core offer because they think that, oh, there's plenty more women, there's plenty more men, there's plenty more $1 million ideas. They don't know how to steward the things that are really meant to be here for life because society purposefully made them unaware of this principle of the psyche called the erotic. So anytime I try and put it down, destiny comes knocking. I can either ignore it and have a terrible life, or I can honor it and keep doing it until it works. Is your business class all pre-recorded? This one, totally pre-recorded. It's this way on purpose. I tell people, and you'll see this in the longer Enneagram calls, that like you'll make way more money if you shoot something live. But if I shot this live, I would be compressing so much information into one call. I want you guys to be able to pick and choose what you need. It was really important to me that these videos be short. Now there is Q&A every single Wednesday at 11, and we have a chat that you'll see. You have access to this for 1 month. You snooze, you lose. You can sit around fucking wondering if you should pay $200 or not. If you have to sit around wondering if you should pay $200 or not, you probably shouldn't. You probably shouldn't, because $200 for business is not a lot. Especially not, I'm like, dude, I paid 30K for this. You guys do whatever you want. But so if I buy the class, can I come to the weekly calls to ask questions and get support? You can ask questions. We don't answer all questions. We answer as many as we can, and a good way to make sure that your question gets answered is making sure it's a sentence which ends in a question mark. A problem that is well articulated is 90% solved. A lot of times in just writing out what the question is, you'll solve it for yourself. But if you can't get to that point because you have a lot of feelings, just go to feelings room, which is right next to that Q&A. Get out your big vent. Nobody's reading it and the question will surface. And how do you make your art a need and not just a want? This is a bigger question, because the truth is that nobody needs art. But when you look at beauty, it makes you feel closer to God, and art makes people feel less alone. We just talked about this in a Q&A. All right. I think that this is going to be my last question because it is really relevant. What's a realistic timeline for creating the lead magnets and launching a group container from scratch? This, I would say, If it's your first time, go as easily as you can. Like I have an app that I built now, but before I had an app, I hosted it on Slack for a year and a half. So I knew exactly what I needed from an app when it was time to build it. In your resources, you're going to see something how to build a website in 9 days without killing yourself. You could do the same thing with an app, but I recommend using the platforms you have for that first one, using what's free and what's available to you, because you could really, in trying to make it perfect, you could just stretch the runway out. Oh, that was weird. Phew! Excuse me. I think I'm now starting to get sick. I'm so excited that it's going to be my turn. Everyone in my family has been sick for the last few days. Now, my lead magnets are super high quality. So for Fuckless, I wrote a whole last book. For Complete Guide to Sexual Magic, a whole last book, put that together. When I was building high quality sales funnel, it took about 6 weeks. Now, and you know what's super weird is that when I was trying to make this evergreen, so you reusing old emails, it would take me so long to psych myself up to go freshen up old work because I generate so much new work. My cringe era is yesterday, like forever. So I never want to look at what I did yesterday. I'm just like, let's just keep going forward here, you guys. I would have to psych myself so much to go and refresh old emails that it would take me about 3 weeks to get ready for a launch. I had this whole launch checklist on Notion, this formula that I was following. Luckily, I fired my operations manager who had also built my Notion, and she got so pissed when she got fired that she deleted the whole workspace, even though it was like super illegal to do that. And I'd spent fucking 20K and 3 years building out this workspace because I thought that I needed like a second brain. It turns out that like for me, I know what a launch entails. I know this system like the back of my hand. I know how to make content. It was actually taking a lot more work to try and have other people help me with it than just doing it myself for my personal brand. Like I said in the beginning, no one could have, would make no sense to me. Onami, it'll be easier for you to just do this yourself, fresh every time, than to try to make it reusable and involve a whole team in it. Now I don't use Notion at all. I don't even write it down. I just know in my head, launch Science of Sales, and I know everything connected to that. I know I need to have the sales page, the opt-in page, the lead magnet, the marketing emails, and show up live and give people reminders and build the product. But I know that trying to communicate it to other people just took like way too long. Is there a course on how to create a course? Yes, there is. Let me show you exactly where it is over here. I'm a responder. So how to create, you know what, maybe I can add this for you as well because we had this in Enneagram. I think I can, let me see, it's up here. Which one? Enneagram for lead magnet. I'm going to add that. Enneagram for launching. The Enneagram for, where is it? Developing your method using the Enneagram. This is specifically how to put a course together, an online course. But it's a method for anything. And we use this reusable Enneagram of old self, new self. Really, really good. A fun thing to watch. All right, you guys, I'm going to sneeze again. I want to thank you all so much for being here. You have, I don't know, a week, 10 days. Well, here's the real timeline. I do not answer all questions. I'll answer as many as I can. You have 4 Q&As starting from now until the 22nd of February. You decide how many Q&As you want to miss. If you don't need any Q&A, come in and buy this whenever. If you think there's a chance that I've missed something here, then you're going to want to be able to ask me for that. And I want to be able to help you. I know from creating so many courses that no matter how much you speculate of what the customer needs, new customer, new needs are always going to come up. I want to answer your questions and I want to help you, but God helps those who help themselves. So here's the door. Here's how you can pay me. Very accessible financially. You decide how many Q&As you want to miss sitting around wondering if you can afford $200 or not. If you can't afford $200, then you have serious money blocks that you need to work on, and you're in no way ready to start building passive income because you can't get enough active income in the door to afford $200. So love you guys. Actually, I mean, I don't like saying love you to people that I don't actually know. God is love. Love is the core vibration of the universe. Some of that love I can send your way, but I love my family. I'm going to take care of them right now. Have a wonderful day, everybody, and I'll see you later.